Good morning and welcome to the St. Augustine Chronicles. Thank you for joining me. Today I have in studio the founders of Kookaburra Coffee, Megan Vidal, who pronounces her name like Vidal Sassoon, and Spencer Hooker. I'm really excited to talk to them both because I've seen them from the beginning to what they are now, and I really appreciate all the hard work and the local focus that they put into this. And as well, they're also show sponsors, so let me get into that. The Kookaburra Coffee, proudly founded in St. Augustine in 2012, the Kookaburra is your local home for fresh roasted coffee and made from scratch baked goods. From legendary Aussie meat pies to scones and sweet pastries, everything is crafted to pair perfectly with their signature coffees. Whether you love a smooth, flat white, a bold Aussie iced coffee, or their famous Honey Badger latte. With multiple locations throughout St. Augustine, the Kookaburra is part of the community and part of your daily routine, from morning commutes to weekend strolls. The Kookaburra, Aussie Coffee, St. Augustine Local. And the other sponsor is my brokerage, 97 Park, residential and commercial real estate. Looking to buy, sell, or invest in property in St. Augustine? Trust 97 Park, your local residential and commercial real estate experts. From historic homes to business spaces and investment properties, 97 Park delivers market knowledge, smart strategy, and personalized service every step of the way. And when you're ready to make your move, contact me, Karen Zander, directly at 904-297-3471. 97 Park, real estate done right here in St. Augustine. So, Megan and Spencer, I always like to start by saying, what brought you here?
Ooh, so what brought us to St. Augustine? That's a bit of a funny story. We were living in Atlanta, Georgia. Neither of us had ever been to St. Augustine. We really had limited experiences in Florida in general. We had moved to Atlanta from Colorado. We came down one weekend to visit my aunt and uncle, who've lived here in St. Augustine for quite a long time. They were in Miami originally. They moved up to St. Augustine like 30 years ago now. So we came down to visit them, not knowing anything about the area. And like many people, were really just blown away by what we saw. Loved the town, loved the people that we met. We thought, okay, this is a place that we can move to.
Was that early 2000s?
Yes, this was like 2011, 2012. Yeah. So then Megan, as she often does, saw an opportunity with the downtown shop. We were just walking around downtown, saw that a business had closed up and they were looking
at... store, wasn't it?
It was called the European Cake House. I think they were doing specialty cakes.
Yeah.
You can't tell. There was a lot of stuff going on there.
Before that, it was a little jewelry store, I remember.
Yeah, so it was the European Cake House. They had just closed up, and there was just like basically a handwritten sign on the door that said, business for sale, email to inquire. So Megan took the email down and thought, we had been talking about doing a cafe for quite some time.
Quitting our corporate jobs.
Yeah, it was just kind of
the dream.
Yeah.
It was just something we had toyed around with and, bounced the idea around for a few years prior. So Megan took this email address. We had no intention of leaving Atlanta, of moving at that point. We drove back up to Atlanta. Megan shot these people off an email, and it just started this whirlwind. Like, they were in a desperate situation. We had to make some very quick decisions. Like, do we want to do this? Are we ready to do this? And after, from Megan emailing these people to us actually signing a lease at 24 Cathedral, it was a matter of maybe like a week and a half.
You're kidding.
It was crazy.
It was
can I get commercial clients like that?
It was
I'm
so
used to
quick.
months and months and months and months and lawyers and...
No, it was fast. And this is what I mean. And Megan moves quickly and decisively. And oftentimes I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Me too.
Like, trying to exercise caution. But yeah, we just kind of went for it. And that's how we ended up here.
What were your corporate careers?
At the time, I was working for an IT startup company that was working with the Georgia Department of Labor, doing vocational rehabilitation work for people with visual impairments. And Megan was working as a wealth strategist for Northern Trust Bank.
So you guys were, if I remember correctly, you were pretty young. Like you hadn't been in the corporate world for that long, or do you just look both really young? Because I remember thinking you guys were pretty young when you started.
Yeah, I think
I think you're young
20s,
now, by the way.
Late
Yeah,
20s.
exactly. In your 20s, that's what I would have guessed.
Yeah.
Okay, so how? By the way, I think St. Augustine does that to people. You come here, you think it's cool, and all of a sudden it kind of draws you in, and you end up going, "Yeah, we're going to move there." Right?
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Pretty
But
much.
how did you get the? Did you know you wanted to do coffee?
So we worked in the service industry for a long time before that. So all through high school, all through college, both of us worked in restaurants. That's where we met. So I think we just had an understanding of that world. And Spencer and his brothers had always kind of talked about running a pie shop because their mother's Australian. And so they spent a lot of time in Australia. They spent a lot of time going back and forth. So they kind of always talked about that. We had worked in restaurants and bars, kind of similar to like a Mellow Mushroom sort of thing. So I think initially we were like, well, we could open a bar and a pie shop, but neither of us are really night people. We're definitely morning people. And so we both really like coffee. And I think we really just looked at the space and we're like, we know we want to do something. I think the space is small enough that we could run it by ourselves and we could do coffee. And then we could incorporate some of the Australian things into it. It wasn't like some big thing. I think we just both really liked it. And Spencer had a little bit of coffee background. That's it.
Well, and the space really, I mean, when I think about what should go in there, if it's food service kind of thing, that seems like the obvious thing, right? It was just this tiny little kind of grab and go, but there were a few tables. And so I think that would be kind of the smartest thing to put in there.
Yeah. Well, originally it was a barber shop. So that was the intent of that particular location. So it was a barber shop, and then it became a jewelry store, and then the food service came later. So the infrastructure wasn't really there for food service. That was just kind of like hodgepodged into place. And we had the original walkthrough video from 2012. I think it was late 2011, and it was just a crazy situation.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I pull it up to show employees, and they're like, "Whoa, you went into this place? Like you thought this was a good idea?"
Because there wouldn't. Did you make this stuff off-site, like at home or something, and then bring it in? Because there wouldn't have been any space to do any of that, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, it was a straight retail location.
Yeah.
So initially, we worked with a baker who had used a commissary kitchen for our baked goods, and then we slowly, kind of took control of that. As Megan mentioned, it was just us, just the two of us initially. So and as a lot of people in their mid to late 20s we thought like, oh, this is no big deal. 12 to 15-hour days, 7 days a week, no big deal.
Well, but that is true, and that's the time you should take risks, right?
I think so.
What do you have to lose? You got time to start over and do something else.
Yeah. Looking back on it now, I'm like, oh, I can't believe we actually did that. But yeah, it was the right time. It worked out well for us. We were very fortunate, very lucky to have landed in this place at that time. St. Augustine was recovering from the recession. Things were relatively inexpensive at the time. It had nowhere near the traffic.
It looked a lot different than it does now.
It looked fundamentally different.
That's what I was going to say. It's not that long ago when you think about it, but St. Augustine in 2011, 2012, I mean, I can picture you pulling up to deliver things and nobody really cared, right? Because you just pull up and hang out there for half an hour with the truck or whatever, and who would care? But now you can't get close to those downtown places for deliveries anymore. You can't. People used to park on Cathedral.
Yeah.
You could easily find a parking space.
Yeah. We used to watch, it was like a game. Sometimes we would watch people parallel park.
That was our entertainment. Like, oh, here we go.
Yep, this person's not going to make it in that spot. It was pretty funny.
My German husband taught our daughters. I can parallel park as well, but he's like, you are learning to parallel park. I am German. You are learning to parallel. It was a big thing with him.
Yeah.
So did you, back in, again, I'm trying to remember, I think it would have been almost more locals that would have been your customers back then, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that was where we saw an opportunity in the market. So when we had first come down, our family took us around to some local spots, took us around to the shops in the downtown area. And we noticed that there just wasn't a very big focus on the customer experience, on customer service. Even then, people had a turn 'em and burn 'em approach. And so we thought, okay, we can come down, create a local oriented spot, use that as our base, and then the tourist traffic will just be kind of icing on the cake. And fortunately, that worked really well. We met some fantastic people, fantastic locals, like right out of the gate. And we just built up this regular local following. And so as the tourist traffic increased, we kind of enjoyed the benefit of that. That was, we had our core group of regulars, people who lived and worked downtown, and then just a steady influx of tourist traffic.
And there wasn't really there was no local coffee shop. I remember like the Bunnery was there, but they served coffee, but you didn't just go in and have coffee. You would order, it was more like a sit down almost place in a way. And then I don't even remember if Starbucks was in the Casa Monica back then.
They were. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in fact, it was ran by Andreas and Renee of Crave.
Oh, really?
That's how we met them.
Yeah. And we met them early on, and they're amazing people, and they're very close friends of ours.
I didn't know that.
And they had a local following because they're so fantastic at customer service, customer experience, and they were quick and efficient. So it was kind of funny. That was really the only, decent coffee in the downtown area when we first opened up.
And I think it's worked out for you also because now even more people are super focused on local. St. Augustine's always been that way, right? There's the I'm local and you're not kind of thing, and street cred. But I think it's evolving more into really trying to support not the big, massive multinational chains, but the local people. I remember when you first started, Megan, or soon after, and we had a conversation, and I think I pitched a location outside of St. Augustine or maybe even St. Johns County to you, and you said, no, we have this kind of mutual understanding with the Jacksonville independent coffee shops that they won't come here and get into our territory, and we won't go there and get into their territory.
Yeah.
Well, obviously that's changed,
That's
right?
changed.
And I don't think you guys have gone north so much. You've really focused on St. Johns County, right?
Yeah, we're still just in and then Alachua. We branched out into Alachua. But yeah,
they're coming down here.
They see it now.
What changed? Because I know it wasn't hey, there's this formal agreement, but you were like, no, we don't go up there and they don't come down here.
I mean, I think
St.
St. Augustine has just become such a place now. And I think, for us, when we found it, when we came here, it was really a cool small town with these, little gems, but it wasn't, it was just someplace we really wanted to live and be a part of. It wasn't like, oh, this is a really busy place. I think we can make money here. Yeah. And I think that's shifted a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah. And it's also shifted, I think, because there's so many people that have moved from elsewhere. So I think the majority, back then, and I've been here since 98, but back then it was still 2011, 2012. It was still, I think, more locals than non-locals, right? More
Yes.
people who have lived here for years than have just moved here recently. But after COVID, I think that's really flipped in the entire county. I think that now the majority of the population has lived here for 5 to 7 years, if even that long. So the makeup of the people who are locally living here now has definitely changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. We absolutely have seen that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember that little location. I loved it. And I have to tell you, you were still in that location when I lived downtown for 5 years, right in the heart of downtown. And my daughter used to come home from school, and she loved that we lived downtown because she could go to the Kook. And so she would, and she always called it the Kook. And so she would go downtown like in the morning, and, we have coffee at our house. But she's like, no, I'm going to go down to the Kook. And she would hang out there and take one or two of our dogs, and she would have coffee there. And then later in the day, she'd go, I'm going to go downtown. I'm like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to the Kook. So she would literally go twice a day just because she loved just the whole vibe of it. And she loved that there was a place where she could sit downtown and kind of people watch. And so I think you really created that. I know you can do that at the Casa Monica, and there's no disrespect to Starbucks or Casa Monica, but I think that was a cool thing that you created that nobody else had really done, because you can't necessarily do that so easily on St. George Street.
Yeah.
Right.
And what's actually kind of funny is this has been kind of the theme of a lot of our locations, is that when we first kind of started looking at that location, we both thought it was great. We're like, this is so cool. It's right downtown. It's on the square. It has parking. This is like a cool place for downtown that we thought locals could get to, right? Because you need
could
to
back
park.
then.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of people were like, "Ooh, you need to be on St. George Street. You're not going to do well if you're not on St. George Street." And we both were like, but this is just not our thing. It felt St. George Street has a vibe, and it wasn't ours. And we were like, I think this is a better fit for us. And it was challenging. It was not an instant thing. Like, we worked hard to get people to like walk up the steps and look into our little shop. But, hearing those stories of like the things that we thought were special about it, like watching the park, being, I don't know, just the square is kind of a cool place to be.
Yeah. That energy.
Yeah. It felt good to us. And it's funny now, people, people that don't remember that time and know us were like, oh, you guys just have the best location. Like, it was not that in 2012. It just felt special to us, and we just thought it was cool.
Yeah, it was, and there were a string of failed businesses in that location, and that has, just as Megan mentioned, that's been a recurring theme for us. And almost every spot that we've gone into, people have cautioned us, that's a horrible spot. Mm-hmm. You're not going to make it there. And if we see something that we like, and we always just look at it through our own filters, like, is this a place that we would like to
customer.
go to,
mm-hmm.
that we would like to hang out at? And if the answer is yes, then we're willing to kind of take the risk, and fortunately it's worked out for us.
So if I remember correctly, was the second location the beach?
It was actually the Marshalls Plaza.
Oh, that was the second. That came on before the beach?
Yeah, because we needed a kitchen, because I was baking illegally at home.
That's all right.
This was 13 years ago. It's fine. So we needed a kitchen, and then we also needed parking, like easy accessibility. Mm-hmm. And we knew Clay Nettles. Mm-hmm. And so I think somehow we were just kind of talking like, hey, we need another location. And he said, have you considered up by me? And we were kind of like, no.
Yeah, I feel like that, looking at kind of where you've gone, I feel like that location, I think there's one more that was, well, a couple more that were more risky, but I feel like that one was sort of a risk for you because it's strip mall, right? And you guys don't strike me as a strip mall kind of place. So I can see, I'm glad it's been successful. I know it's always busy, but I can see where that would have been kind of, do we do it? Do we not?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were very uncertain as to how that was going to work out, and the main driver there was the kitchen. It was a restaurant. It was Acapulco, Mexican restaurant, and they had closed down a couple of years before we went in there. But yeah, it was really, we just needed a kitchen. We liked the accessibility, and the ingress and egress was great there. The parking was great. It was, those were things that we didn't have at
Traffic
24
Mhm.
Cathedral. Yeah, so we decided to take a plunge, and Clay was very adamant, like, this is a good spot. I assure you, this is going to work out. So we, trusted Clay's judgment, and we took the risk of going into that location, and then it worked out well for us. It was similar. It was a slow start, just like downtown. When we first opened downtown, our first day was like $30 in gross revenue. And both of us looked at each other like, we may have made a huge mistake. But then, it slowly built upon that day after day. 312 was similar. Took a few months to really get up and going. But once it did, then we were able to establish that local, regular customer base.
Well, it was high profile, but it was also kind of hidden at the same time, right? So people had to find you, know you were there. Even though it's on a busy corner and it's a strip mall, it didn't really have a super high profile.
Right. And that, I think most of those, there was a lot of suites in that strip mall that were vacant. It wasn't, again, like it is now.
Well, and it was, they've renovated it since too.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and it had just recently been renovated when we went in there. This was 10 years ago. It was the Kmart Plaza before Kmart had closed, and then Seabridge took ownership of it. Or not Seabridge, I'm sorry, Seelig out of Georgia, and they renovated it. And so this was part of Clay's argument: is it's newly renovated, it's going to be great. But I had a really interesting experience right out of the gate there when we were doing the build out. I was there working. I'd walked outside to take a break, and a young lady pulled up, got out, started asking me questions about what we're doing. So I explained, we're opening a shop here. We have a shop downtown. And she said, well, I'm born and raised here in St. Augustine. I've never been downtown. I thought that blew my mind, because we're only a couple miles away from that downtown shop. But I thought, maybe there is something here. And we noticed that with St. Augustine there is a bit of compartmentalization.
Oh, for sure.
Where people who live in certain parts of town don't go to other parts of town.
Yeah. I mean, I'm downtown all the time because I'm based there and I do a lot of work there and have meetings there. And I also know where I can park always. I've got, just people that always give me a parking spot.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't be downtown. I think it's becoming more so that the true locals just don't go downtown. They just don't want to deal with it. And it's changed. And I mean, you can say it's better or not, but it just isn't what it was for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Agreed. So was the beach the third location then?
It was, and it was F Street first.
Yeah,
and
and then Dondeville.
3rd Street.
And that, funny story, we also had a ton of people that said, don't go to the beach. It's extremely seasonal. You won't make it. And we just didn't agree with that. We were like, plenty of people live over here.
Plus, the line used to be out the door at Starbucks, so that tells you locals are coming to get coffee somewhere.
Yeah. And we were just like, I don't think it's that seasonal. But again, our focus has never really been on tourists. Our focus is like, well, the people that live here are going to support us. So, so we cautiously went into that little F Street location.
I actually talked to the owner of the restaurant when he was going to sell it, and so I kind of know what was up with that location.
Mm-hmm. And that is the only location that was an instant hit. And it was busy and it was really fun. And it's just, the beach has been awesome for us.
Did you end up buying that or are you leasing it?
So we bought.
Only I would ask this. No one else cares.
Yeah, it's a funny story actually.
We ended up buying the location on 3rd Street that we're at now. When we were at F Street, we were so busy that we had, there was one neighbor in particular that was doing everything imaginable to try to get us out of there.
I
and
think
to
I
try
was
to
on the
shut us
planning
down.
and zoning board when that was
Oh,
going on.
you were. Yes, you remember. Yeah,
So we very quickly
And
we
they had
realized-
commercial zoning, by the way.
they did.
They
did.
Yes, I remember that.
The whole thing was just crazy. And we went in and we actually sat at their dining room table and talked with them and just let them know, like, hey, we're going to do everything possible to make this, amenable for you. We're not trying to be bad neighbors.
Yeah, but by the way, your house is sitting on commercial zoning, so.
Also, we've had about 8 health inspections in 6 months. Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah.
We appreciate
they were
that.
weaponizing bureaucracy
But-
against us, but it was wild. So
That was a tiny location.
it was a tiny
small.
location, and it ended up, even though that was a very stressful time, it ended up working out in our favor. It forced us to look for another spot. And then Cafe Atlantico, Paulo was retiring,
Mhm.
and he was willing to give us owner financing, which was the only way we could do it. We had no money at the time. And Frank O'Rourke,
Mhm.
who he was the building owner of the spot we were leasing at.
Yeah,
F
Frank's a
Street.
really good guy.
He's
Frank
been
is a great
awesome.
guy.
He
and
helped
Frank
us a
was
lot.
instrumental in that and allowed us out of the lease at F Street, and then was our representative for purchasing Cafe Atlantico.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, so
And
that
that's been
it
that
worked out great.
spot has been so great for us. Like,
Yeah, it's
that was
always busy.
it is busy, and it also is, again, it's kind of like a special building that just fits us.
Yeah, it's quirky. It's local. It's
Yep.
not corporate. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
But had that situation not happened, we would not have moved on something so big for us at that time. It was a really scary proposition, and it's absolutely paid off. But that was a big one.
And so you still didn't have your own roastery then, right? Was
Correct.
the Shipyards the next location you did?
The Shipyard was, and that was for the roastery.
Yeah.
So we had plans in place to transition into roasting our own coffee, and we were, trying to figure out how to acquire a roaster and get everything locked down, and that all kind of happened simultaneously with this relocation to 3rd Street.
Yeah, we were already working on it, but then the F Street thing was like a little bit. It just changed the priorities pretty quickly to like, okay, we got to do this first. So
And you guys aren't in the Shipyards anymore, right?
no, that was great for the time we were there. I think we were there for 4 years. Is that right? I don't remember.
Something along those lines.
And then they were, I can't remember exactly what happened. They were selling or something happened, but we actually just
Gary happened.
probably, yeah. Yeah. We kind of knew that I think after 3rd Street, like buying that property, we were like, okay, and Spencer said this the whole time, but it's a scary proposition for us. But he was like, wherever we move the roastery to, like, we need to own that building.
Yeah.
And so that ended up being, our director of culinary operations, who will celebrate her 11th year with us on Monday.
Is that your sister?
It's not my sister, but Ariel was our first not real employee, but our first kitchen employee. And she was getting married in Palatka, and we never drive 207 ever. But we had to go 207 to go to her wedding, and I was like, whoa, that building's cool.
But there again, I wouldn't have thought, oh, hey, this is a great location for you.
Yeah,
I
know.
Yeah.
I would have kind of said,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. We drove past as the sign was going up. Like, the person was literally hammering the stakes into the ground to put the for sale sign up. And so we got the number, we called, they just wanted to get rid of it. It wasn't even a hard negotiation or anything. We threw out a number and they were like, yep, sold, no problem. So it happened fast, but it used to be a coffee roastery. It was Mystic Bean. Yeah.
Mystic being like a lot of like
Back in the 90s.
early
Yeah.
90s.
I
Okay.
don't remember that.
Yeah. So it was set up, and this is just one of those strange little twists of fate. It was set up as a coffee roastery. Flowers, bread store, bakery had taken it, and they had used it as a retail location, and they were using the warehouse in the back for warehousing for their baked goods.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Again,
It's-
we never drove up 207 ever.
Yeah.
It just was like a fluke thing that we had to go that direction.
But the room now, our roaster room was already pre-existing. They had put like racquetball court glass in as a partition, and it was all set up to move a coffee roaster in there.
Yeah, I mean, we
worked
walked
out
into
well.
this old building, and we're like, I think this was made for us.
Yeah, yeah, it was just it
It
was
had like a
definitely
cafe spot. It had a roastery spot. You could
Warehouse.
see into the roastery spot, and then it had warehouses, and we were like, this is oddly specific for us, and I think we need to do this.
yeah, it was very serendipitous, and it's ended up being a great spot. And we had to be very careful about where we move that roaster, because moving a coffee roaster is a big proposition, and the logistics involved, all that kind of stuff. It's not something you want to do more than once. So when we moved from the shipyard, it was like, okay, this is the permanent home. We're good to go here.
So let me talk about having your own roastery. What makes a good coffee? Like, what makes? 'Cause I love coffee. What makes a? Well, let me backtrack. I'm not going to name any names, but there's a local coffee shop that I quite literally cannot drink their coffee. It's so bitter, I cannot drink it. And the first time I ordered it, I was like, something's got to be wrong with this. This cannot be the way this is supposed to taste. And then I had another one, and like, oh, I can't drink this. And I like strong coffee. So what makes a good, like, smooth, robust coffee? Is it the beans? Is it the way it's roasted? Is it the way the coffee is prepared? What makes that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of everything, starting with the terroir of where the coffee is grown. That's the soil biology, the climate, the growing conditions, depending on what region it's in, elevation, etc. How it's harvested, how it's processed after harvest, basically how the seed is extracted from the coffee cherry, how it's dried, how it's shipped to the coffee roaster, then how it's roasted. Of course, each roaster imparts their own profile, their own characteristics onto that coffee, and how it's prepared. So every step of the way, there's an opportunity for influence on that final product.
What makes a really bitter cup of coffee?
That's kind of a multifaceted thing. There's a lot of opportunity to introduce bitterness to coffee in all of these different steps. More than likely, it's from the roaster to the preparation. Depending on how it's roasted, that can impart bitterness, how dark it's taken. And then the preparation, you have so many variables there. You have the actual dose that's being used, the extraction process, the water temperature, just a variety of different ways that you can make coffee bitter. And also that taste is really a subjective matter. We're very oriented. We do our coffee a very specific way, just like the way we choose our locations. It's a spot that we would like to hang out. We roast and prepare our coffees in such a way, like, would we enjoy coffee this way? And that guides the vast majority of what we do, both from coffee and a baked goods standpoint. But the number one thing that influences the perception of the coffee is the overall experience, I would say. So that's everything from when you walk into an establishment, the layout of the establishment, the way you interact with the person behind the bar, and the way they prepare your coffee, how it's served to you. All of these factors kind of go into how you perceive that final cup.
Yeah, because I think with coffee shops, it's almost like kind of an extension of someone's home, like coffee is about you sit down, you drink it, you enjoy it. Maybe you're in your kitchen, maybe you're sitting in your favorite chair in your living room, but there's this kind of homey feel that people, I think, want when they're drinking coffee. I don't know, maybe that's weird and all wrong, but versus, and I think it's sort of like that with beer, and we're going to talk about that. But it's not, I think that a lot of things you don't go for that, but with coffee, it's almost like a comfort food, right? So you have to create that comfort food vibe.
100%. It's experiential. I tell my staff and my managers this all the time. The best cup of coffee that I've ever had was not the best cup of coffee that I've ever had. I've had some amazing coffees from the best producers in the world, all over the world. Really, really high quality coffee. But my best cups of coffee have been 100% experiential.
It's almost like at your grandma's house when she's making Sanka.
That's literally right? His story is one of those.
Yeah. I have a lot of these very vivid memories of having a cup of coffee just at the right time, and it could be not that great of coffee, but all the variables kind of came together at that time to make it amazing. And that's what we try to replicate in the shops. That's really our big focus. We try to put out the best products that we can put out, of course, but we really try to have that eye towards the overall customer experience. We want you to come in and just feel welcome and at home in our shops.
You do it really well. Your employees are great. They're always super friendly and
they're
responsive,
amazing.
and they're really, really great. For me, my coffee experience started when I was as long back as I can remember. So I don't know, 4 or 5 maybe. My grandmother on my mom's side would always, whenever I would visit her house, she lived about 30 miles away from where we did, but whenever I would go to grandma's house, she would let me drink decaf coffee. And of course, back then, I'm sure it was more cream and sugar than anything, but she would have her coffee, and I had this little cup, and she would always let me drink coffee with her. So I've been drinking coffee since the time I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. And so it is sort of a comfort food for me.
Yeah.
And I know that. Like, I can't really explain why I love coffee, but I love to drink coffee. And I think in the back of my mind, I always do have that, this was something that I did with my grandma when I was a little girl. And I'll also tell you, I mainly drink decaf because me on caffeine, you can imagine how that would be. I don't need any more things to hype me up. So I do mainly drink decaf. I have a question for you. My husband continues to tell me that drinking decaf is super unhealthy because of the way the process works. So he's like, you're putting all these toxins into your body by drinking decaf coffee. And I said, okay, well, the alternative is I'm on caffeine, and that's not going to work out well for you. So, choose your poison. Is decaf coffee really bad for you because of the process in order to make it decaf?
No, I don't. And
I'm sure some brands can be. I'm just in general. Is it?
Yes, and there are some arguments for some coffee preparation methods that may introduce certain things, but generally speaking, no. Decaf coffee, you're not going to be you're not getting dosed with any of the chemicals that may be used in the decaffeination process. But there's also a variety of decaffeination processes that do not use chemicals, like Swiss water process, for example. It's just a matter of manipulating the osmolarity of the coffee to extract caffeine. So if you're worried about any kind of chemical exposure, you can get Swiss water processed decaffeinated coffee and completely eliminate that concern. But
which is, I believe, what most specialty roasters, small roasters, will try to get the Swiss water process.
Well, Yes and no, because um, the processes that are used for decaffeinating, even with chemicals now, have advanced to such a point where there's really no trace of those chemicals that are used to actually extract the caffeine. So I don't worry about that. If I drink decaffeinated coffee, I'm not concerned about any kind of exposure. And the data really bears this out. There's not even trace amounts of these compounds left by the time the coffee is
Play this
roasted.
for him.
Yeah. It's
Thank you very much, Spencer.
yeah. It's very safe. I mean, and again, you would see if there were really health considerations that would manifest itself in populations, and coffee drinking populations tend to be healthier than non-coffee drinking populations, and that's irrespective of whether it's caffeinated. It's not the caffeine that's conferring the benefits.
Well, he just told me that recently. He tells me that every once in a while. Hey, you're killing yourself drinking that decaf. And I said to him the last time, which was only about a week ago, I said, everybody's got to die from something. And he's like, well, that's just the dumbest statement, Karen. I'm like, well, I'm happy. I like it. Are there a lot of byproducts in coffee roasting that are difficult to dispose of, or is it just kind of, I don't know. Like, we're going to go into sort of commercial real estate here. Does any of the byproduct of roasting have to go into like a grease trap or something, or is it just water, or what is it, like hulls of beans, or what are the byproducts that you have to deal with?
There is coffee chaff that's produced, but the chaff is just a organic. It's kind of like the shell, the parchment layer of like a bean, right?
Like popcorn kernels, that little piece.
Yeah. So it's used as fertilizer. It's just organic material. It completely breaks down. It's not dangerous or ecologically damaging in any way, shape, or form.
We actually have a couple of farms that pick it up and use it for bedding for their chickens. I'm not exactly.
Do they smell like coffee then?
I don't know that it really smells like coffee.
No.
It's kind of smells.
I would love
like
that.
Yeah.
It smells a little bit bready, but there's no real damaging byproducts of coffee roasting. It's just analogous to baking. I mean, that's really what it is. It's like, does baking muffins create waste or dangerous compounds? Not really. Right.
When you're roasting coffee, does it smell like coffee, or does it smell different when you're roasting it? Because I love the smell of coffee.
Yeah, it smells different. You get a bit of the what people identify as the roasted coffee smell at the end of a roast, but there are certain phases that are hit as the coffee seed is drying out during the roast process, and they have different smells. So initially, it's very kind of green, grassy, peanutty smelling. Then it becomes kind of bready smelling as it's developing.
That's the worst part to walk in on. It smells like fresh baked bread.
I think I remember that
hard.
from the shipyard's location.
Yeah, probably.
I have this vague memory of that smell.
Yeah, and then you get the traditional roasted coffee smell right at the end as the coffee is exiting the roaster into the cooling tray. You get a bit of that, but yeah, for the most part, it's more bready smelling. It's very distinct for me. I've been around it so much, so I can always, if I'm in a different city, walking around, I kind of follow my nose to a coffee roaster. I'm like, oh, there's a roaster nearby.
Well, and then, you go to downtown Jacksonville at certain times of the day, and that Maxwell House smell is, I don't think it's anything like that. It's a weird smell.
Yeah, and that's such a huge commercial operation. It's a bit of a different animal.
Yeah, I remember I did I don't know, it was a 10K or 15K years ago downtown, and that smell, you're running, it's like, oh, just not the greatest smell to run through. Ooh, it's
funny.
So how many locations do you have now in St. Johns County and then elsewhere?
So we have 9 total.
So you did the 207, then you did the Dondonville, maybe? Is that right? Or did you go? Are you at Nocatee?
Actually, you know what? We did Dondonville first. Then we did
Then
207.
207?
Yeah, so we did the shipyard. Then we did Dondonville. Then we did Nocatee.
That's the only location I think I haven't ever been to.
Nocatee.
Yeah.
That one's kind of interesting. Flagler Hospital actually approached us and said, "Hey, we're doing this health campus. We would we like coming to your 312 location. Do you want to do this?" And we were very unsure about it, but we drove up there and just thought it was kind of cool, and so we did it.
That's probably the only way that you could have gotten into Nocatee, because I do commercial real estate. I mean, I think Starbucks would have locked you out at any other location that you would have tried to go
Probably.
into. So if Flagler controlled it, they couldn't. You know? I mean, just thinking through, like I work with Chop Shop on his locations, and when we put him into Silverleaf, we had to get him in there before anybody else could get in and lock him out, and so then we put a lockout so they can't come in. But
Yeah, it
you know,
makes
you're
sense,
up against when you're up
absolutely.
against the big boys, you're gonna it's tough to get into those
Definitely.
high profile kind of strip mall locations.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And people always wonder why don't we have an Fresh Market? Why don't we have a Trader Joe's? I'm like, because Publix locks everybody out.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've seen quite a bit of that over the years, and Nocatee was a really unique situation, and they were so great. Flagler Hospital was so great to work with at the time. They had an
I
amazing.
feel like they're
team.
kind of trying to do some unique partnerships with the new leadership in the past maybe 5 to 10 years. I know Todd and Neville really did a lot with them, and you know, good for them to kind of look at locals and local brands and go, hey, can we do something together?
Yeah, it was cool, and they built that spot out for us. We were involved in every aspect. It was new construction for the health campus and our spot, and now it's changed hands. It's actually owned by University of Florida now.
Yeah.
But that's why, you know, sometimes people ask, like, hey, that's such a weird location. Why are you in there?
Because all the employees wanted it.
I mean,
Yeah, it's because these people approached us. They pitched us on the location, and you know, it was a great team to work with, and it ended up being a great spot. Nocatee is actually a really cool community.
Yeah,
and
it
we've
is.
had
And they have a little
excellent
town center, right? It's almost like
community
a
response.
town.
yeah, and
I feel like they should have their own zip code and not be on a Vidra.
yeah, it I mean, I think if you live in Nocatee, you're in Nocatee,
Yeah.
you know, and which has been really cool for us because they are very loyal.
Yeah.
Like once you're kind of theirs,
Yeah.
they're very in, and they have been nothing but supportive for us.
Cool.
It's that I will tell you that location, if you ever get up there, it is pretty cool. It has like a covered patio outside and it's attached to like a park. But that location is always full of people sitting inside, which is so cool. Like there's obviously a community of people that just want to go and sit and like it's not a lot of people on laptops. It's like people meeting their friends and sitting down and having like group discussions.
That's
like
Nocatee, though.
Yeah, it's very
Nocatee.
fun. It's very cool.
Yeah.
So
So that's the only one I haven't been to. And I do meetings all the time at Kook because I want to try to support local, and I just love it. So where else are you? Am I missing? What am I missing?
So we are in Alachua. That was our first foray out of St. Johns County. And that has been awesome. Again, that was just somebody who was a fan and approached us, and we thought it was a pretty cool area. And then recently we were approached by the amphitheater, but now St. Johns County Cultural Events, to partner with them at the amphitheater and Ponte Vedra Concert Hall. And that has been such a cool experience, partnership. We love working with them.
And that renovation was so needed because, I mean, I love the venue, but before it was, so that they did a wonderful job with that, and to bring you in is fantastic.
And it's really cool. Their vision is very similar with ours, which is just providing this amazing experience. And, you know, for us to be able to help them facilitate that is really cool.
How do you, as you get bigger and bigger, How do you still maintain that hyper customer service focus that I know you said you want and that I think you hit? How do you maintain that as you grow bigger and bigger? Because like you said, in the beginning, it was you two, you controlled the experience. So like with my brokerage, I'm always like, I want everybody to have the same customer experience with that brokerage. And I'm so particular about that, but I'm not a big brokerage. If I were a big brokerage, I think I would lose that. How do you maintain that hyper customer service focus that you have as you grow bigger?
It's definitely a challenge. It's definitely something that we work on every day. But I think the key to our success thus far has been just having this amazing group of people that work with us, that are on the same page as us. They are laser focused on customer experience, on just providing an amazing experience for anybody who walks into our shops or interacts with our brand. And so those core people, they are instrumental in every time we open a location. They're there on the ground, training the new staff. They have input on the build out, configuring the bar, just making sure that we are not overlooking anything, that we're able to execute the standards that we're known for and the standards that we need to execute. And that has been, I think, key for us. As long as we keep this core group of individuals who are just as enthusiastic about providing an excellent customer experience as we are, then we can continue to grow and continue to serve the community.
But I'm going to tell you that really says something about you, because that's not that alone is not easy. It's not easy to find those people, and it's not easy to keep them motivated and keep them rewarded and keep them just doing that. So that really says a lot about both of you. It sounds like, oh, we just do this, but that's hard.
Yeah, and I do think those key people have also been instrumental in helping us create trainings. So it is like we have really kind of learned over the years that if we want things to be done a certain way, whether that's like with the products that we create or the employees that we're developing, like we have to create the systems for it. So we have a very extensive interview process. Like you kind of have to put a lot into the interview, which is funny because some people are like, this is a coffee shop job. We're like, well, we want more. So we
I don't think you do have a coffee shop job, though. I think you have I think coffee is like secondary. It's how you do what you're probably really interviewing for from an outside perspective.
Yeah.
This is a customer experience, a customer service,
100%.
more than customer service, but this is and you do it via coffee.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Like I don't think I sell real estate, or what I do is solve people's problems. I just do it through real estate.
Yeah.
But my job is solving people's problems.
That's
100%.
exactly
So you're not really
how we
interviewing
look
for
at it.
a coffee shop.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Coffee is just the
vehicle.
vehicles
Yeah.
for us to deliver this amazing
Right.
experience.
Right. And you guys do it really well.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it wouldn't be possible without these like highly dedicated, highly motivated, just highly capable individuals who work with us on a daily basis, and they truly are family. I mean, it's just at this point we look at them like family.
And I don't want to give anything away if I'm not supposed to, so I'm going to let you take this or not. But I talked to, I had lunch with Connor Dowling on Monday, local architect and super talented guy. And he told me that you're working on a new project. Can you talk about that, or is it too early?
No, we can talk about it. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know where you
Absolutely.
were in the process. So
it is really early still, but
so I
we're
love
happy
that you're
to.
working with Connor, because he's locally grew up here and he's super talented and creative, and I know he'll do just a wonderful design for you. But you're going into doing a brewery,
We are.
right?
Yeah.
It's when he told me that, I said, oh, that's a perfect next step for you. Perfect.
Well, a lot of people may not know this, but my uncle, who is the reason that we ended up in St. Augustine when we came down to visit, was one of the founders of Old Co Sales.
I actually had him in here when I did my podcast before, but we had a technical glitch, so it never aired. But I did. I interviewed him.
That's funny.
Yeah,
He's probably happy about that.
he was great, and he did mention that he's your uncle. But,
Yeah. So
nice guy.
So Megan and I were, just kind of involved in helping Matt and his partner John get Old Co Sales started off the ground. So we got to watch that develop into what it is now, which is an amazing local brewery, nice neighborhood spot. Matt he stepped away from Old Coast, and he has really been itching to do something else. So he kind of pitched this idea, or helped us develop this idea of, hey, let's do our own brewery. And we have very specific things that we're trying to hit with it. It's going to be different. There's going to be quite a few differentiators that will separate us from what people are used to with the craft beer experience. We have the land at our 207 location. So we actually, and this was kind of unbeknownst to us going into it, we found it out later, but we have all the land between our existing building and the railroad tracks, which is
significant.
Yeah, it's a significant slice. So we figured, okay, we'll utilize this land to create a bit of an overall experience, like a campus, and bringing Connor in and Becky Chapman. They've been great. And
Connor's going to hit it out of the park for you on the design.
Yeah, it's so fun working with them.
They're such great visionaries, and they've brought so much to the table for us. And so we just had this little seed of an idea. Like, we know we can execute the brewery, but then now we need the location, and we had this, these grandiose thoughts of how we can incorporate it into what we currently do. And Open City Architecture has just been amazing in, helping us garner all these thoughts and putting it down on paper and making it a reality. Mm-hmm. So we're getting closer and closer to actually breaking ground and starting this.
I think that's going to be hugely successful for you. And that, I think, is the right location for that, right?
Right. It seems like there's nothing over there,
Yeah, you're going to do really well with that.
We're very excited about it.
We're running down on time, but I have one quick question for you. So everybody that knows me knows that I love cold weather. I grew up in snow country. I used to live for 3 months out of every winter at our ski house at 10,000 feet in Utah. I love snow. I love cold. But this is not an exaggeration. Every time we get cold weather here, the first thing I do is look at the temperature and go, oh, great, it's cold. Like, I love this day. The second thing I do is I'm going to go get hot chocolate from Kookaburra. You guys I have had hot chocolate everywhere because I've been in cold climates. You guys have the best hot chocolate anywhere. What makes it so different?
It's really simple. It's pure Dutch cocoa, sugar, and whole milk. And then I would say maybe the special sauce is the ratios of those are kind of the perfect amount of chocolate to sweet. But then if you come into our shops, we steam it on the espresso machine. And so it gives it like a frothy mouthfeel.
Yeah, volumizes the milk. And it's something that Megan and I just created. And we did this with a lot of our drinks. We were like, okay, what are we going for here? How can we replicate this as simple as possible and make sure that we can deliver it consistently? And so with the hot chocolate, initially we were doing it all, mixing it on the steam one, which would blow Dutch cocoa up into our faces. And after a shift during Nights of Lights, we would have like cocoa rings on our nose, and we would look like coal miners. But we just refined it, got it, down to a replicatable product, and we're very proud of the hot chocolate. And we love it, and again, it's something we would enjoy. So that was,
and
what got us to that point.
Again, like a lot of stuff that we've done has come out of downtown, and just our feeling that if we're going to do something, like, we need to make it, control every aspect of the ingredients and the ratios, and just make sure that we're super proud of it. But the funny thing is, when we first opened in that very first Nights of Lights, so many people would come in, and first thing they would ask is, do you make your hot chocolate with milk or water? And we were like,
water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of places downtown were serving hot chocolate with like the Swiss mix water
Yeah. That was
combo. And so
that was the
we were
standard.
like, okay, we're gonna perfect this. It's gonna be really good.
Well, you have, because I am not exaggerating. First, I look at the temperature, and then I go, I'm going to go get Kookaburra hot chocolate today. And the daughter that I told you about that loved going to the downtown location when we lived downtown, she and I have this thing with hot chocolate because she's, traveled all over with me as a kid. So every time that I go get hot chocolate from Kookaburra, which is every single cold day, if it's below 60, I'm getting hot chocolate. And she's in the Netherlands now. And so I always send her a photo of the cup, and I say, I'm thinking about you, baby, because she knows Mom got hot chocolate from the Kook.
That is awesome.
That's really cool.
So, God, I love your hot chocolate. It's so good. So next week, it's going to be like 29 or 27, and I'm already like, oh, cool, I can go get hot chocolate.
Oh, I know something to give you. So I got a gift for you.
Well, thank you both for coming in. I'm so proud of what you've done. I'm so proud that you've created this true local brand, and I've seen you from the beginning. I know how hard you've worked. I know the risks that you took and how scary that can be. And so I'm just so proud of the success that you've had. Thank you so much. And thank you for sponsoring my show. I also really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to the brewery. I know it's going to be just the next big thing for you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Karen. It was so good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in.